Welcome to the Distinctive Dermatologist, the podcast for professionals in dermatology. Our goal is to help your practice stand out and deliver the ultimate experience for your patients, so they schedule repeat visits and refer your practice to their friends. We're here to help your practice become more profitable. Here's your host, 7-time best-selling author, in-residence faculty member at High Point University, Hall of Fame professional speaker, and member of the Sales and Marketing Hall of Fame, Scott McCain.
And welcome to this week's The Distinctive Dermatologist. It's a privilege to be with you once again, and we've got a great interview set up for you today. It's literally one of my best friends in the world, but he's also an author, spent many years as a professional speaker, has worked with the you name it, the leading organizations of the world. But we're going to be talking about how that applies to your dermatology practice. It's my great pal and one of the best business authors and best people that you'll ever have the chance to experience. From Nashville, Tennessee, it's Joe Calloway. Joe, thank you for taking the time to be with us today. I really appreciate you making room for us on your schedule.
Scott, I wouldn't be anywhere else. This is, you and I love to talk about this sort of thing, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, our problem's going to be keeping it within our basic time limit here. I think
exactly.
We love this, but Joe, one of the things is I've worked with dermatology practices, along with, by the way, I didn't mention, brought to you by Gentle Cure from Skincare Oncology. Gentle Cure, tough on cancer, easy on skin. Joe, one of the things as I work with dermatology practices that has been of interest to me is that a lot of times the dermatologist is so extraordinarily well trained in her or his profession. Yep. They are specialists. They are amazing. But in some cases, they haven't really been educated and trained in terms of creating a patient customer experience. And they also sometimes see what they do as being different from the experience that same individual that they're treating for a dermatological condition might experience when they're buying a car or when they are choosing an insurance plan or whatever. Would you talk for a bit about, I know you and I share the opinion that, customers have a right to expect a superior experience no matter where they're doing business.
Yeah.
I'd like you to talk a little bit about that and why that's so important, particularly in healthcare.
It's interesting. And you and I have talked about this, and I've talked to my clients about it forever, and I've written about it. And it's the idea that your patients compare you to everybody that they do business with, not just other healthcare professionals, but everybody. And if they absolutely love their bank, and they have a great experience with their bank, and they don't have quite as great an experience with you, then they're going, why? Why not? It's interesting, Scotty, I've got an appointment with my dermatologist next week.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And I was thinking, and I love them.
Yeah.
I was thinking about why, and it started with when I was first referred to them, I went to their website. Their website was easy to use. Boom, put a gold star up. I went to the map to see how to get to them. The map and directions were clear. The patient experience had already started on the website. When I called to make an appointment, the call was terrific. The person was efficient, was friendly, was very professional, and pleasure to deal with. And then it kept getting good or even better from there. But people, not just healthcare professionals, but people in any profession tend to think of themselves in isolation, and they're not. They get compared to everybody.
Joe, you've written so many books that I'm just thrilled with, and there's a couple I really want to talk about during our time together. And as you were talking about that, one of the things that struck me was your book about be the best at what matters most. Mm-hmm. And what I don't think a lot of clinics break it down to what matters most for the receptionist role, what matters most for the billing department? What matters most for that dermatologist? Tell me a little bit more about the philosophy behind that book and how that would apply in this particular situation to dermatology practices.
Here's the thing. A couple of things come to mind about that idea of be the best at what matters most. One is focus. Is everybody in the organization focused? And are all those different players, does their combined focus result in a great patient experience? That's the point. Because it's not just what matters most to you, way more than that, it's what matters most to the patient. And in some cases, the patient's family, maybe. But it's that, it's the old saying, begin with the end in mind. What do we want to do here? We want to be a pleasure to deal with. We want to be easy to deal with. And part of that includes things like, if my appointment's at 2:00, how long do I wait past 2:00 before, not for me to get up and go to the desk, but somebody to come to me and say, Mr. Calloway, I know it's 2:15. Let me tell you what's going on. Just that kind of simple awareness of what the patient is going through at every step of the process.
Gosh, that's so good. It's remarkable to me as well how many times in that how many waiting rooms have you and I been in respectfully that you end up waiting forever and you have no idea why, and the impression it gives is the doctor values her time much more than my time is being valued. Right? I mean,
many years ago, I was living in the state of Washington in a small town. I was new there. I went to a dentist. This was maybe my second or third visit there in a period of a couple of years. And it was about 15 minutes past appointment time. Scott, the dentist came out and he said, Joe, let me tell you what's going on. I'm working on a young patient in there, and she's got a complication that we were not anticipating. And I think I'm going to be with her for the rest of the afternoon. They're prepping her right now for a further procedure. So I was able to have the time. I wanted to tell you and the other couple of patients waiting what was going on. That was 35 years ago, and I remember it to this day.
Yeah.
Just that courtesy and that caring and the awareness. I contrast that with, I was referred to a specialist. I went to the office, had a 1:00 appointment. At 1:30, I went to the desk and basically said, what's up? I had a 1:30 appointment. She said, oh, well, the doctor's taking a late lunch today. He's got something going on and he's taking a longer lunch than usual. And I said, well, why didn't you tell me that when I came in? And she said, well, I know your appointment's at 1, but he'll be here before too long. And I said, tell the doctor he's fired. It's not about being late. It's about no acknowledgement, no courtesy to the patient. I'll try somewhere else. This isn't going to work out. It's really very simple stuff, Scott, but I think a lot of it is about having a heightened awareness and focus from everybody in the organization as to what's the end result that we're all trying to achieve.
Yeah. Just today, Joe, I have a speech coming up for one of the big hearing aid organizations, and so I did a kind of a mystery shopper thing. I went and I had a hearing test and all of that. So I'm filling out the form, and my general practitioner has a unique spelling to her last name. She is from Africa originally, and it's Nodi, N-N-O-D-I. Well, the gal behind the desk, the receptionist, looks and she says, now, I want to make sure I can read your writing. Is this N-N-O-D? I said, yes, it is. She said, wow, that's an interesting last name. And I said, I have never had a doctor listen to me the way that Dr. Nodi does and how engaged she is.
Yeah.
And so then I saw the receptionist write it down on her pad. She said, I need a new doctor. I want Okay, so there's the other aspect to all this. You get
Yeah.
referrals sometimes from people that really don't. I mean, yeah, it's one thing to refer your family. It's another thing to be, I'm out there marketing for her. I'm selling for her simply because of the
Well,
patient experience that she's creating.
one of the books I
Joe,
wrote,
yeah, go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, one of the books I wrote is Magnetic, The Art of
Yeah,
Attracting Business. And you just hit on the core message of that book, which is you are so good with, you take such good care of your patients that when they talk about you, people say things like, I'm going to write that down
yeah,
because that sounds like the kind of experience I want to have.
absolutely. And we'll be back with more with Joe Calloway right after this message from Gentle Cure and Skincare Oncology.
When I got diagnosed with skin cancer, it was right under my eye. I was told that surgery was the only option, and I did not want to get cut open on my face. I asked my women's group to pray for me, and one of the other ladies told me about the procedure that her friend had, and it was Gentle Cure.
If you, like millions of others, are affected by skin cancer, it's important to know that surgery isn't the only option. There's another choice: Gentle Cure. Gentle Cure uses low-energy X-rays to kill cancer cells with a 99% cure rate. Plus, there's no cutting, no surgical scarring, and no downtime.
I had no pain, I have no scars, and I'm cured. Amazing.
To learn more, call today or go to gentlecure.com.
And we're back with our guest, Joe Calloway, author and business philosopher and all-around great guy. Joe, one of the other books that you've written that I really like so much is Becoming a Category of One. And one of the things that we're finding in dermatology is it's gotten much more competitive. Obviously, too, as dermatologists have gotten more into the field of not only things like non-melanoma skin cancer that our sponsor addresses, but also in terms of cosmetic appearance. That has even increased the competition with cosmetic surgeons and others that are in that same market. So could you help us understand some of the principles that would make an organization into that category of one, and maybe some ideas about what that means to a dermatology practice?
Yeah, the basic idea in becoming a category of one is, let me put it this way. Let's say I'm looking at 4 different practices. There's practice A, practice B, practice C. Those are the other guys. Then I come to you and your practice and I say, in comparison, A, B, and C are good. I mean, everybody's got a great resume. That they appear to be skilled at what they do. All the basics are covered. But you guys, when I look at your practice, it's different to the point that you've created your own category. You're not even in the category with everybody else. And the thing is that people think that well, you got to have a gimmick. No, gimmicks aren't the point.
Yeah.
It's about being so good at the basics of what you do. So good at the basics that and listen to this concept, because it's hard to achieve. It's really hard to achieve. But if you do, you win. You become so good at the basics that you're innovative. You become so good at the basics that you're better at those basics than everybody else that's in the same business industry or kind of practice that you're in. And so it's a matter of, what is it that we can do with our patients that will transcend commodity, that will take us beyond being, just close your eyes and pin the tail on a dermatologist and on the internet, because they're all the same. You've got to separate yourself in such a way that your patients, going back to your reference before, that your patients are out there saying, No, I mean, I've been to a lot of different kinds of doctors over the years, and these guys, everybody there it's different. They think about it differently and they do it differently. So it's a matter of transcending comparison, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Spoiler alert for those watching. I know this is something that Joe is going to respond enthusiastically to. Wait a minute, Joe, because he and I have this conversation all the time. So you're not just telling us to be different? Isn't different better?
Okay.
I had to
Don't get
give
me
a spoiler
started.
alert. Here we
Here's
go.
the thing. People say, well, we've got to be different. And you might take what I was just saying, which is you've got to transcend comparison and say, well, doesn't that mean you're different? If you want to be, here's a way you can be different. Have everybody in your practice wear a funny hat and a clown nose. Boom, you're different. The best different is to be better. If you're better than the others, your competition, then you are by definition different. But people put so much energy sometimes into what can we do that's different? What can we do that's different? When the key is what could we do that would make us better? And this idea of constant improvement, which gets probably more, well, as much lip service as any other concept in business or healthcare or any endeavor. That, oh yeah, we've got to get better. Okay, what did you do in the last month? Seriously, what did you do in the last month that made your practice significantly better, particularly from the customers, from the patient's point of view? And you think of the last month, oh wow, it wasn't a good month to ask. We were slammed. We had so much going on. We couldn't really get better. But it's gotten to the point where that's not an option because believe me, if not all, some of your competitors are getting better.
Absolutely.
It's a moving target.
I have to mention, because this is going up tomorrow. We were recording this on the day before this episode will be produced. You had a great LinkedIn post about leaving the gym today, and what you overheard today. And you please share that story because that's a terrific post you made.
I was walking out of the gym. I'd done my workout, and there was a guy in the hallway, looked like he was in his maybe mid-30s, and he had on ear pods and he was talking. He was obviously having a phone conversation. And as I walked past, all I caught was just a snippet of his conversation. But he was saying, yeah, but we've got to make ourselves valuable to the customers, not to us. It's not our definition of valuable that matters. It's the customer's definition. And I went back and I made a LinkedIn post that took the gist of what he said. And I said, Business 101 in 18 words. We've got to make ourselves valuable to the customers, not to us, not according to our definition. But, and that now gets into, well, what do your customers want? And it's dangerous. What do your patients want? And it's dangerous to make assumptions. Oh, well, we know what they want. Well, maybe you do, and maybe you don't. And patient by patient, what they expect and what they want changes as their family changes, as they go through different financial seasons of life. I mean, there's all sorts of variables. But yeah, I walked past that guy and I thought, well, he gets it. He totally gets it.
Yeah. That was I love that post. That was just a great post. Yeah, Joe, what is the final question for you here? What is the future of the customer/patient experience with all the things that we're seeing in terms of technology and AI and all the different changes in business? One of the things happening in dermatology that's happening in a lot of other businesses, private equity coming in, purchasing dermatology practices, putting them together. things like that. What do you see as the future of the customer patient experience, and what should practices be doing right now to help prepare for that future?
Well, of course, the big one, and everybody is still wondering about this. The big one is AI. From everything that I see, and I think we're in the early stages of AI, but as far as efficiencies for your business, how to be more effective in certain areas with your business, AI can be invaluable. And if you can use AI as a way for you and your staff to personally get closer to your patients, connect better with your patients, then to me, that's the real key. Because just this last week, I was having an exchange with somebody who had approached me saying they wanted to they were interested in what I did, and they wanted to have a conversation about business. I said, fine, we're going back and forth. And after their third message to me in the thread, I wrote back and I said, this is AI, conversation over. It was a conversation so
Really?
obviously on their end, written by AI, that not only were they connecting, they were destroying any potential of a connection. So it's how can I use AI in a way that makes us more human and more accessible and more connecting with our patients? I think that's going to be the pot of gold at the end of the AI rainbow.
That's great. Joe, thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate you joining us on the podcast and giving us such incredible information. It's been a real privilege. Thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me, Scott.
That concludes this edition of the Distinctive Dermatologist. We'll look forward to seeing you next week on another episode brought to you by Gentle Cure from Skincare Oncology.
Thanks for listening, and join us next time for the Distinctive Dermatologist with Scott McCain.